And yeah, so let's go ahead and just go into some basic questions. I guess I'll start this one off, and then we'll go in a round circle with this. And then, so which character was your guys' favorite? I'll go ahead and start. I don't know what it was, man, about. Okay, well, first off, it's very rare that I ever say the main character, but she's a definite like up there in terms of that, just because of her charismatic energy. But the actual one that I was gonna say was Sophia Asgard, just because of and this is where we start to get into much spoiler territory, just because of her connection to Katarina, which was really surprising. It was one of the biggest whoa, oh my god. Also, I really like that white hair and red eye look. I don't know what it is. It kind of reminds me of Bell, which we mentioned him in the last video from Dungeon. I just say Dungeon. I'll put the actual name of the freaking anime on here. But yeah, so yeah, I've always liked that kind of character that is really beautiful, but for some reason, like everybody just thinks she's a monster just because she's very different. And I really like the fact that her and Katarina have this really cool bond with books, just like they did in their past lives, which we also figure out that she's Alchon from Katarina's past life. So yeah, it's kind of cool to go ahead and see. So yeah, what about you, Johnny? Why don't you tell us what your favorite character was?
Man, I was trying to think of it, and honestly, I hate to default, but I mean, I gotta go with Catalina. Yeah. I mean, not even because she's the main character, but her mindset of, oh my god, if I do anything wrong, I'm dead or exiled. And so I kind of sympathize with that mindset of her being like, I have to do everything possible. So she just starts working on her magic. She starts working on her gardening and all this stuff. She's ready to get exiled, which I'll be honest, with as much prep as she did, I kind of wanted it to happen. Just a little bit, but yeah, I'd have to go with Catalina because she's got so many cool things. She's a good person. She helps so many people amongst the cast, feel just so much better. And I mean, like you were saying, her friendship withstands with Sophia through multiple lives, and that's kind of cool too. So yeah, I'd have to say Catalina.
Cool. What about you, Michael?
I was gonna say Katarina for a long time, but Johnny picked her, so now I've got to pick her.
Yeah, I know, right?
I also want to say I really like how Sophia and her bonded over, love books or romance books. I thought that was funny. Going through them real quick, Mary's not my favorite. She's a little, I don't know, she's a little strange. Like the way she acts. And I like Alan, but I don't think there's enough personality yet that's out there. Like we don't really know that much about him. Like he's just like, oh, he's competitive. He plays piano. Okay.
That's enough.
Anymore. And her fiance to be, I love the whole he's afraid of snakes. But again, we haven't had too much of him beyond his superficial outside personality. So mine would have to be Keith. Well, he's a weirdo now. Because you can't like your sister, man. You just got to get over that.
It's adopted. It's fine.
I liked her before she was my sister. I really, really dig his whole internal personal grief that he been struggling with. His magic is great, but he's been hurting people with it. Katarina's a little jealous of that because he has the same magic as her, except all she can do is make bumps. And it helps her sometimes. Yeah. But I really like Keith's dynamic with Geraldo, how they're constantly butting heads, and how he's like, "Yo, I'm her fiance," and he's like, "Well,
I'm her brother."
Yeah, I'm her brother, so I don't like that. Get out of here. And I think he really adds to the whole Katarina dynamic of her being kind of silly and fun the whole time, and he's kind of jumping on that personality train and kind of being a little quirky the whole time. So, and Nicole or whatever his name is, he's just a cool popular kid. So I mean,
a choice. You have to like him.
Yeah, and Sophia's out there trying to hook him up, right? Sophia.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. She's like constantly like, "Yo, Katarina, look how cool my brother is."
Good luck, Nissan.
But you guys already picked Katarina and Sophia. I'll pick Keith. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. By default.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, so the next question is, what did you like most about this anime? So since I went first last time, why don't we start with you, Johnny? Since what did you like most about this? Whether it be like a storyline or anything like that?
Yeah, Johnny.
I kind of like the premise of it. Admittedly, it didn't shine through as much as I wanted it to, but it was the idea that we have. It's a video game isekai, and the character who usually plays, the main protagonist is now thrust into the villain role, and just seeing how that works out with everything. Because there aren't too many games where you play the villain role, so seeing her kind of adapt and change to that, and constantly expecting the world to turn out like a video game. It's fun watching that. That might be the biggest thing I have to say about that. I just really like the premise of it. I'm gonna have to reiterate.
What about you, Michael?
That's a really cool point. Actually, is like I've not really seen another anime that's been similar in that fashion. Like Rise of Shield Hero is pretty like RPG like. It's got like video game mechanics along with the Boturi.
Oh,
the defense
Bofuri.
one. Bofuri. The defense one is also pretty video gamey. But like that's legitly a video game, and if it's Sword Out Online, that's just a video game. Like these are video game-esque things, but like it combined it to be an isekai. Really cool. I really like the way that Katarina is not OP. In fact, she is one of the weakest people in this entire anime. Yeah. Like she knows how to farm, but everybody, like almost everybody around her, thinks that's a cool thing that she does, and is very unique and very like, oh, you're not so pompous and noble to like not do something that like just a regular farmer would do. And like she's pretty like noble of a character of heart. Like she doesn't act rich or pompous. She's very like down to earth. Haha.
Wow.
I'm leaving.
She's such a cool character to have in this anime, and I think that the way the anime kind of goes, where everybody just like, wow, you're inspiring. Like, you're just you're just this amazing person to know, and that's what changes people's minds. Unlike like maybe like a DBZ where Goku's just super OP. Maybe he's not the best personality. Yeah. Going out of his way to fight people maybe isn't not the smartest thing. But like she's just like, hey, I'll be your friend. Oh, you did something really dark and you didn't mean to do that. I'm still there for you. Nobody's weird in my book. And I think that's the other thing besides what Johnny said that kind of kept me in with this. And one of my favorite parts of it is that she as a character is just very unique. And also I really like that she's oblivious to people liking her because like I can understand that.
Dang. So I think for me, the one thing, and I will always say this, I love Naruto. The problem with that frickin' show is that there are too many frickin' characters that they did not expand upon. And I like this show just so much because each one of the characters gets a good amount of screen time. Now, granted, like we were saying before, some characters, are pretty shallow in terms of what we know about them so far. But this is only like 12 episodes so far. So, yeah. We have a long time to kind of figure this thing out.
Hopefully 24 episode.
Yeah, hopefully there's another season. Yeah. But it's I really respect the fact that they kept it pretty simple with how many characters there are. Even if you look up like the Wikipedia like we did, if you look up the characters, there's only like maybe like 10 to 15. Even if there's even that. And I really like that each character kind of gets their own development, even though it might be small, and then they all get to interact with each other basically after that. Because once they go into the magic school, they're basically all just together. Mainly as like Katarina's groupies, but that's probably the best way to put it. So let's go ahead and go into our last question here. You touched on this just a little bit, Michael, but since you're up next, how is it compared to other isekais?
Oh, That's because I knew that question was coming up. Planning, we planned. I was trying not to touch it on too much, but comparatively to other isekais, and hopefully I'm not touching on too much of both your points, is that the way the story is written is very different from other isekais. Because I always feel when approaching an isekai that like they're taking elements from Sword Art. I mean, because Sword Art is mostly an isekai because they're in a different world, but it's still it's still Earth. Some isekais are like, oh, we'll still make it video gamey, and we'll like put only like they get like stats, and they put their like Konosuba-esque, where it's like it's more like D&D, where it's like you're putting in points to your stats, and you're upping certain skills and learning new skills. Then some other ones completely go away from it, but then the character's super OP. And then other ones are just like, well, we'll run mostly with the whole video game thing. And then some others are just a video game, like Sword Art. And I like how this one takes it and goes, well, it's still a video game, but she's literally in a different like plane of existence. She's inside the video game, but not inside the video game. Like, it's in the world, but the same things are not happening. And it still has the tricky road of like, well, things are still being pushed, and the same events will happen if she doesn't take them all.
Right.
Like, just an example, like something that the Villainess was supposed to do was like bully our main character. We've already said that, and it's very obvious that she would do that. But instead of that happening, because she's trying to be nice, other girls come out and bully her. But then there's very big repercussions from the main Villainess not doing those things. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool and well thought out, and all these branching stories are becoming cool. The weird harem aspect of it is also really, really funny because it's not sexual at all. It's just funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my big two. It's just like the way the story is written is very different than isekais. But that also might turn a few people off from watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not the most actiony thing.
Yeah.
And the weird like obliviousness of our main character and her just going, I'm just really cool and nice, and everybody's like, yeah, you're really cool and nice. The girls and the guys love you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lucky, what are you thinking?
So you actually brought up a pretty good point that basically the things that she's trying to change have all repercussions. And it kind of made me start thinking about, some of these other animes that are like isekais where they are involved in some type of video game aspect. They don't really know what the outcome is in a lot of their worlds, whereas Katarina knows the outcome. So it almost turns into a time traveling idea in a sense, just because all of these have a butterfly effect to things that she doesn't know anymore. Like all of a sudden, Maria's super nice to her. Like what's going on here? All of a sudden, she's not super in love with Jordo or any of the other guys. Like what's going on? And I kind of like that aspect of it. I think that's what kind of makes it different than other anime isekais. And kind of like what you were saying is that there's not really any like made up RPG elements. Like she kind of I can respect that if they're literally going into a video game like Sword Art Online. Like yes, that's a video game. I get that, but I don't really see why a world would have some of those aspects, kind of like Konosuba. Like how the heck are you leveling up like this? But yeah, I think I know, right? But I do like that they literally just kind of stayed in their lane. It's an otome game. It's just trying to build relationships, and that's actually pretty. It stays pretty true to that. I mean, even though it's not the most actiony anime, but I really like the wit about it, and it kind of replaces the action with some funnier dialogue, and also with character relational plots, and I really like it for that. But yeah, so what about you, Johnny?
Funny enough, I think we're all kind of loosely touching on a similar subject here, which was, I was gonna say it's interesting watching it how a lot of isekai is along the lines of normal being thrust into supernatural. Whereas, I don't know, I'd almost say it's kind of the reverse. Supernatural, technology and all this craziness being thrust into, back in time, just a less supernatural thing. Even though there is magic, it's really not a big part of what we watch in the anime. it's the whole premise of also, I guess anybody can be a villain, which is kind of interesting. I mean, in a lot of isekai, there's people in the villain role, but I mean, we see Catalina, she is, thrust into the villain role. She stops being the villain, but the villain role still gets, filled in by someone else in the story. I mean, not anyone important, but yeah, it's just it's almost a reverse of a lot of different isekai that you see out there, I guess.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest difference, I'd say.
Oh, nice. So is there anything else you guys wanted to, usually we do like honorable mentions at the very end of this, but is there anything else you wanted to point out that maybe why somebody would want to watch this, or why they should invest their time, even if why should they invest their time even though we just did a spoiler review on it, and even if they did watch it without watching the anime? What do you think would be like your main selling point on this? I guess we'll start again with I guess I'll start for this one. I mean, at least for the selling point on it, I really think our selling point was literally what Johnny, you had said before, was the premise of it. Like, what in the world is this? I think it takes a lot for anime, just because there's so many anime out there that the minute you start reading it, it's like, oh man, brother falls in love with sister, NANI? Oh man, it's like like isekai. Oh, you get these tropes and you kind of know what's gonna happen. Whereas this one, I was like, what's gonna happen? And actually, we didn't do too many spoilers in this review. This analysis anyway. So, but yeah, what would you say, Johnny?
No, there's not too much I want to add. I mean, the characters are fun. It's really just an anime if you want to watch. I mean, like we've all said, it's not super in-depth as far as fighting or magical stuff, so it's not necessarily that kind of anime, but it's definitely a feel-good anime. Watching it, you get to see Catalina, I've said it before, she's just helping all these people, and in turn, they want to help her. So it's very much kind of like it's not rooting for the underdog, but it's rooting for top dog. I don't know. She's pretty well off, so.
Yeah.
My big thing is that there's a season 2 going to be announced for 2021. So
you get it first here.
Yeah, Anime Casuals first. Hey. So I mean, if you're going to get invested into it, I mean, it's gonna next year there's going to be another season. I mean, unless everything goes downhill, but you never know. And so now would be a perfect time to get through that first season, and then theorize and have fun with the anime and think about what could happen to Katarina next, because honestly, from watching the first season and now we're at the end of it, is like, I don't know. I like, it could do whatever it wants, like with the story. And there's a lot of reveals and things that happen throughout the season that are very, very surprising and very like, that came out of left field and I wasn't expecting it, but I loved it. So like, if you're looking for an anime that has a couple of surprises that you're not going to expect, I mean, this is the one for you.
Oh, there you go. So you heard it first from us, guys. So let's go ahead and we'll see you in the next video. And remember, guys, keep it casual.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching part 2 of our casual analysis of Villainess. Next time is just going to be Lucky and Johnny with...
We're going to be doing another casual analysis on the anime Love, Jinibyo, and Other Delusion.
This is an anime that me and Johnny have watched, and it's really one of those ones that just gives you a lot of nostalgia of when you were in high school, and even before that, of when you were, you used to have an active imagination, and kind of before adulthood hit hard. And this anime kind of goes in between those two things, and we're going to be kind of talking a little bit more about that. And do not forget, this will be a spoiler analysis, so if you've not watched it, then just go ahead and do that, and then check out our next video next week.